Okay, welcome everyone. As we learn the Mishna Yomis for Sunday, and that's Yom Aleph, Shel Shabbos Shavuos, as we learn the second and the third Mishnayos in the final 8th parak of Shekalim, sponsored Lila Nishmas Levi Yitzchak Ben Meir Yaakov Moshe Ben Zevlu Fush Shleiman Felio Moshe Ben Chaya Sarah by the Fisher family Lila Nishmas Basi Bas Rabbi Shlomo Ben Abraham Alevi Perel Bas Ruvain, and by Yoel Klugman and family that they should have Gesund Parnasa and Nachas. So now the first halacha of this Mishnah is simple. In Yerushalayim, the way it worked with a mikveh is you went down to the mikveh on one road, and then when you finished being tovel your kalim, you went up from another road. So it's obvious that kol ha-kalim hanimtzam b'Yerushalayim derech yerida lebeis hatfila, all utensils that were found on the way down to the mikveh are assumed to be tameim. Derech aliyah, those that are found on the way up, that means you already left the mikveh, tahirin. Shaloi b'derech yiridasan aliyasan, because it's not the same road that you used to go down to the mikveh as you used to go up from the mikveh. Divrei Meir. That's the opinion of Meir. Rabbi Yosi is a more relaxed. Rabbi Yosi says even on the way down, we don't assume that if you found a keli it's tamei, because you could have had kalim with you that were also tar. Rabbi Yosi, I'm a kulan tar. We assume that they're all tar, even what you found on the way down to the mikveh, because it's possible you had some tar kalim with you as well, as the Miri explains. Chutz, except for kalim that are designated to use for a mace, for tamei, in a Beis HaKvaros. Chutz min asal, except for a basket that's used to collect bone fragments of the dead, v'amagrefa, a shovel used in the cemetery, v'amaritza, and a spade, hamiyuchadin l'kvaros, which are designated for graves, that's going to be assumed to be tamei. Okay, that's an easy Mishnah. Now, sakin shenimtzis ba'arba asa. Now remember, let me give you a little bit of a background over here. When a keli is tamei and you want to use it for kachim, it needs to be put in a mikveh, but that's not enough. You have to have herav shemesh. You have to have the setting of the sun. In order to be used for truma and of course for kachim, you need the setting of the sun. So, sakin shenimtzis ba'arba aser, if a knife is found on the 14th of Nisan, since in order to shech the Korban Pesach that day, it would have to have been immersed the day before in order for it to have the setting of the sun, we assume that it was immersed the day before, and therefore sheichet b'miyad, you could shech with it immediately. However, b'shleisha aser, in the event that you found the knife on the 13th, well, on the 13th there's still time for you to have immersed it and have herav shemesh that night to be able to use it on the next day. So we don't even know if it was immersed yet. Shaino matfil, you should immerse it again. Maybe it was immersed, but immerse it again, and then you have the nightfall of the 13th, so you could use it on the 14th. However, a kaifetz is usually used to cut bones. You could shecht with it, but it's used to cut bones. Now, since you can't cut bones on the Korban Pesach, etzem lo yisishberu bay, if you find the kaifetz on the 14th, even on the 14th, maybe you weren't tovel yet, because you can't use it that night anyway. So, the kaifetz, bein bezeh uvein bezeh shayno matfil. You should, because it didn't have to be tovel the day before, because you didn't need herav shemesh on the night of the 13th, because you can't use it on the 14th, because you can't use it on the Korban Pesach. So elamai, you could use it on the 15th on Yom Tov for the Shalmei Chagiga, for the Shlamim of Yom Tov. But for that, there's time to immerse it on the 14th and have herav shemesh the night of the 14th. So when you found it on the 14th, it might not have been immersed yet. So the kaifetz, bein bezeh, whether you found it on the 13th or even on the 14th, shayno matfil, you should repeat and be tovel it again. However, that's only if the 14th falls during the week. If the 14th falls on Shabbos, you can't immerse it on Shabbos, because immersing on Shabbos is a problem, or on Yom Tov it's a problem because it looks like masakin, it looks like fixing it. So Chal Arba Asal Yos b'Shabbos, if the 14th falls out on Shabbos, so then we assume even a koifetz, you're immersed already the day before, because you can't immerse it on Shabbos, and you're going to need it for the 15th to chop the Shalmei Chagiga, then Sheichet B'miyad, you could use it immediately. The same thing if B'chamisha Aser, if you found it on the 15th, again, you got to assume that they did it the day before, that there should be Harav Shemitz, so Sheichet B'miyad, you could check with it immediately. Not only that, but even if you found it on a regular 14th, but it was tied together with a knife, Nimtzis Kshur L'Sakin, since the knife you would have to be toivel, in order to be able to use it, you had to be toivel it the day before, so it had Harav Shemesh, so we assume it was toiveled as well. Harizu Kisakin, it's like the knife, and you could use it immediately. Rabbi say again, for those that are listening here, I want to remind you that there's a special schedule Monday night. I'm giving a shir in Jamaica, Queens. If you're in Jamaica, Queens, I think it's called Beis Tefillah. I'm not sure. It's a place of learning for Becharim and Yidden in Jamaica, Queens. The shir is at 8:30 in Queens. We're going to make that shir available on Zoom at 8:30 tomorrow. It's a shir about Shavuos. Zoomdaf.com. You're invited to join us. And Wednesday there will be a Mirza Hashem a shir on Nasa. If you would like to sponsor a shir, 718-916-3100, rmmwsi@aol.com. Thank you for joining us, and have a wonderful evening.